And what I tell everyone is that money is an exchange of value. So if you're adding value everywhere you go and you're helping people, whether it's with hemp-based wellness or some sort of support for their overall wellness, it comes back to you. So if you're in this industry, the people that I think that struggle the most is the people that are actually constantly selling and constantly like, I want them to buy this instead of I want to add value to their life. And how can I do that? And if you just have that mindset and that thought process, I think you'll overcome a lot of disappointment.
Hello and welcome to the Smart Business Owner Podcast with your host, Schubert. On a podcast, and today we have Don with us. And Don, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Schubert. Happy to be here.
So, Don, for most of our listeners that don't know too much about you, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? We know that you are in the wellness space. You're a wellness advocate. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? How did you get started in that field, and what brings you to become a wellness advocate?
Yes. So I have 4 children, and I have been, I would say, had an entrepreneurial spirit for a very long time. I was in sales right out of Boston College and helped my husband with a family-owned business and sold business forms for a national manufacturer. And then I had my children. I have 4 children, and I had 3 autoimmune diseases that were incurable, and I was forced to learn about alternatives when you're dealing with health issues, when the doctors really can't do anything for you.
Right.
And that's when I started learning more about alternative, holistic ways to treat the body. And that's how I also became familiar with hemp wellness.
Gotcha. And what about being an entrepreneur? I mean, does that run in your family? How was that? I mean, how did you get started? Was that easy?
It always happens organically in the beginning, and then you have to work at it. I don't really think there's many people that are born with that entrepreneurial spirit. I think it's learned over time and experiences. And I had my own business with my husband, but it was in the commercial printing space.
Okay.
And I wanted to start an encore business, I call it, like an after we closed up our printing business, what am I going to do the second half of my life type of thing. And I had certain criteria. And I think as entrepreneurs, if we're looking for these certain criteria, it's a great fit. I did not want to have a boss. I did not want to have overhead. I wanted unlimited income potential. I wanted it to be a category that I was passionate about with products that I believed in, and something that was a consumable, meaning that it wasn't a one-time purchase, so that I could build a residual income as I age.
Very good, very good. I mean, this is something that people, from what I hear, I understand, people use every day. So, if you're solving a problem, so the possibility of recurring revenue is very high. How's that been for you since you started? Would you say that being a business owner, being a wellness advocate, from your journey, would you say it's been positive? How's that impacted you so far? Since you've been in that realm, being a business owner and also a wellness advocate?
I think first and foremost, it's really personal development. Whenever you step into that space where it's really all on you, you really can't make excuses when you're an entrepreneur and you don't have the boss over you telling you what you have to do and the quota.
Right.
So that personal development is, I would say, the biggest factor. And you are constantly put in situations where you are not comfortable. meaning you have to do things that may not be in your comfort zone, but
Right.
you know if you want to grow with your business, that it's a necessary thing for you to do. And what I have found is over time, it really isn't that bad. It actually is fun. And it really keeps me relevant as I age.
Right.
And it helps me to relate better to other people as well.
That's awesome. Well, do you find yourself being a better boss to yourself or a
Yes.
harder boss to yourself?
Yes, I find that it's helped me to really focus on adding value to others, to other lives.
Right.
And in the meantime, I'm also adding value to my life.
Right.
You know, it's a two-way street. As
Right.
I help others and serve others and provide solutions, they actually are helping me to grow as a human.
Right. Well said. Now, the hemp industry, I believe in Florida, they're gonna have that on the ballot this year to make it legal recreational. But it's a lot of people are using CBD is 100% legal nationwide. Now,
Yes.
when it comes to the CBD space, what some of the problems you have seen? You spoke about your personal experiences. Besides that, what else do you see in the industry? What are some of the problems that you solve, and what else you bring to the table for this community?
Well, I like to call it the Wild, Wild West. The Farm Bill was passed 6 years ago, and it made it legal to sell hemp in every state. Marijuana is a drug, and hemp is a supplement,
Right.
or what I call a superfood. So what I found that the reason why I call it the Wild, Wild West is because when anything is new, and the second factor, the fact that it's unregulated.
Right.
So drugs are regulated in our country, food's regulated, but supplements are unregulated.
Right.
So the biggest challenge is really educating people, the consumer, so that they can make informed decisions and to really speak into misinformation out there. Yes,
Right.
it is cannabis, but there are different plants. It's kind of like they're cousins. You have the marijuana plant and you
Right.
have the hemp plant, and they both are very different. One is intoxicating and one is a superfood.
Because most people, when you talk about cannabis, they think it's weed. It's just like, okay, they're all the same. Is there a difference? So that's
Right.
one of the
That's
biggest
why-
problem you've seen.
Exactly. And I think that there's a knee-jerk response. I get one of three responses. Oh, no, thanks. I don't want to get high. Or I tried it, it didn't work. And the third response is I really have no idea what it is and what it does. So that shows me that because it's only 6 years that it's been, able to be sold in our country, it was actually taken away 150 years ago by the government. And now it's come back, and there is a huge demand. It's the fastest growing industry in the health and wellness space, projected to grow from about 7 billion right now to over
Wow.
40 billion in the next 5+ years. So you're finding the people that are investing and have the money, they're investing in hemp farms,
Wow.
because it's in 5 years from now, every home will have hemp-based products for their pets, for grandma, for the toddlers. It's just an easy thing for people to consume every day and help them stay in balance.
Wow. It's like we go through cycles in our country. We had the dot-com boom, we had the gold rush, and now it's CBD. Hemp, that's the new thing. Now, Green Compass is the company you are affiliated with. You partner with them, and they are known to have commitment to high quality products, organic products. How did you get involved with them? How did you find them, and how did you pick them to be your partner in that realm?
That's a great question. With an unregulated industry, there's a lot of misinformation, and sometimes it's really hard to navigate through the weeds, no pun intended. But
Right.
the point of saying that is that I have learned to look for certain signposts in the health and wellness in space of what is really non-negotiable when looking at unregulated industries.
Right.
And the way I found Green Compass was I was using CBD, but the quality wasn't quite what I had wanted, but there really wasn't a lot to choose from. And when I found Green Compass almost 2.5 years ago, they checked every box.
Wow.
And so here I call it the high five. So what you're looking for is you have to have organic, non-GMO, certified organic, non-GMO hemp. And the reason why is because it's a scavenger plant. It's a mop crop. It was used to clean up Chernobyl, and it is used in China to clean the environment. It's a great remediator plant.
Wow.
So it can clean out toxins from the soil, the air, the water, the environment. And if you are using a product that's not certified organic, all of those residual chemicals and pollutants will be in your product and eventually in your body.
Wow.
90% of the products that are being sold in the United States are coming from plants that were used to clean the environment, specifically from China. And we call those the stems and sticks. That's the second thing. You want to only be using the flower, not the stems and sticks. The flower is the purest. And the reason why you want the flower is because of the extraction process. It can be the safest. When extracting the cannabinoids, which there's over 100 in the hemp flower,
Right.
you want to use a CO2 extraction, which is the safest. It's also more costly, of course.
Okay.
But if it's not the flower, you have to use harsh solvents like acetone, butane, and those trace things will be in your end product as well.
Wow.
The third thing is you want full transparency. In any unregulated industry, you want to have a certificate of analysis, or COA, which comes from a third-party lab-tested source, not owned by the manufacturer. A lot of COAs, if you look, they're kind of misinformed. You have to actually look at the COA, look at the certificate of analysis. Every product Green Compass makes has a QR code that you can scan, and it actually traces it to the exact plant where the product came from, and it has one of the best traceability that out of anything in the country, so, and in the world. So, and finally, the fifth thing is you want to look at the type of farming, not only certified organic, non-GMO, but you want it to be vertically integrated. And Green Compass is one of the only truly vertically integrated brands, which means that they own everything: the farms, the soil, seeds, growth, the production, the extraction, the labs, the bottling, packaging, and the shipping. So they own the whole process. We also are in the functional mushroom industry as well. And it's the same things apply with the functional mushrooms, which is also unregulated.
Wow. And the functional mushroom, how different it is it from the CBD? What's the major differences between the two?
Some of the similarities are that you have psychedelics, which are drug related, whereas I always say functional mushrooms because those are foods. They're mushrooms that you can buy in the grocery store. And what makes Green Compass's products different is that it's a mold-free environment. It's a controlled environment. You cannot control mold on a homegrown mushroom.
Right.
The layperson really, it's nearly impossible to do that. And again, there are a lot of things being added to hemp products, CBD products that are synthetic. That's a real dilemma that we have in our country, and several states have already banned the use of synthetic THC called Delta 9. The same thing for the functional mushrooms. They're adding synthetic versions to give some sort of psychotropic or intoxicating effect so that the consumer thinks that they're getting something from it.
Wow. So as you said, it's the Wild Wild West. Yeah. And if somebody don't really know what they're doing, they really need to consult a professional, somebody in that space that can guide them. Now,
yes, and unfortunately, CBD shops, I've been in several, and I'll ask simple questions like, oh, do you have any CBD that's hemp flower only? Is it certified organic? What is the extraction process? Do you have a COA? And most people don't even know what I'm talking about. And
Wow.
that just says to me, this is not where I want to shop. And I want to be informed and trust the source. So, yeah.
So these folks, they are in the space, but they have no idea, some of those key points they need to look for as far as to make sure that the product is safe for the consumer.
Yeah, we had, there were some people that 76% of CBD that was tested from various stores did not even contain CBD.
Wow.
And over 90% of the products being sold have other ingredients that are not listed on the packaging.
Wow. As you said, that's really the wild, wild west. So having a professional in your corner, on anybody's corner, this is the way to go. Now, what are some of the applications for CBD? What are some of the specific problems you saw people are using CBD for that, sometimes they go the conventional way. They get those prescriptions and it doesn't do anything for them. So they amp up the prescription. They just raise the dosage and they still haven't done anything for them. And we know that in our society, especially in the pharmaceutical industry, not to throw a rock at them, but a lot of time they rather keep people longer on some prescriptions or sometimes for the rest of their life as opposed to get them better and get them off those prescriptions, especially do something that is not natural. And CBD, if my understanding is from a plant, it's a natural remedy.
Yeah.
So what are some of the use cases you've seen, how people are using it? What is it for? And can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I would love to. Just to give a few highlights, and then I'm just going to touch quickly on how it works. Some of the examples, a 10-year-old that was taking ADD meds and had terrible side effects, started using a CBD jelly and is doing great in school off of all her meds. And, I have moms calling me like, this has just been an answer to prayer.
Wow.
My 80-year-old mom, who is sleeping 6 hours straight every night. It's been 30 years since she's been able to sleep through at least 6 hours. Her bowels are regular. She just learned how to play pickleball at 80 years old. She's playing golf 5 days a week. She has arthritis. Her pain is being managed. Her sleep, her bowels. She is literally better than when she was 70, and she attributes these products as to helping her manage the aging process. And when adding the functional mushrooms for cognitive support, she is also doing better with her focus and accomplishing tasks that sometimes she kind of wavered in. And then there are people that are having trouble sleeping. It's been decades, some people. And other people are just overwhelmed. They are so anxious, overwhelmed, feeling like their lives are unraveling and they're self-medicating, even if they're not using prescription medicine, and they don't even know what it feels like to have a day without stress.
Wow.
And when they start using the hemp products consistently, because it is a superfood and we don't store it or build it up like you do with medicine, it's something that you have to just take every day. And this is kind of how it works. So if somebody has a complaint and they get a prescription, it's kind of like a mobile that a child sees when they're in their crib and it spins around symmetrically. One medication is like putting a paper clip on one arm of the mobile, and now it's out of balance. So then you go to the doctor and it's like, well, now my blood pressure is elevated because that medication caused the blood pressure to elevate. Let's take some blood pressure med, and then we'll lower your blood pressure. Now there's another paper clip. Before you know it, there's 4 different paper clips or more on this mobile, and it cannot even turn in any way. And that's what we're finding with the medicine that a lot of people are taking. So what CBD does is your body has an endocannabinoid system that
I was going to ask you about that.
your body. Yeah, we abbreviate it with calling it ECS, so
Okay.
endocannabinoid system. This was not discovered by scientists until 1992. This is
Wow.
so new that only 17% of medical schools are actually teaching doctors that we all mammals have an endocannabinoid system. We have receptors in our body in every major organ. The majority of them are in our brains, and the second most in our reproductive organs. What hemp flower extract does, or what we call CBD, which by
Right.
the way is only one of the 100 cannabinoids, but we just
So
call
there
it
are
that.
different cannabinoids as well.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And what it does is it finds those receptors that are deficient, it fills them, and it puts the body in homeostasis or balance. And one by one, it's been shown that it can actually start removing those paper clips on the arms of the mobile to give that body the balance that it needs. And it's not a drug, it's not medicine. We can't claim to heal or cure anyone using this. But what I say it does is when your body's in balance, it's able to do what it was meant to do, which
Right.
is heal itself and
Right.
overcome things. And so that is what I have found working with my clients, my family, my friends, that it's been tremendous to see the results that we are getting from using this. I mean, from seizures, migraines, sleeplessness, anxiety, depression. I will be transparent. I was on antidepressants for 7 years and I am off of them now. It's been a year
Wow.
and a half. And
Congratulations.
I find that many people can never really wean off because they don't have anything to support their body and keep it in balance. This is something that we all make, Schubert. We all make cannabinoids, but we are deficient because when it was removed 150 years ago, it grew wild like weed,
Like
like
you
weed.
mean hemp?
Hemp did, right. And it was in our vegetation, and it was also being consumed by all of the animals that we eat and consume, them or the byproducts. So we were getting those cannabinoids that we needed through our food sources to bridge the gap for what our body does not make enough of. And the only time now as mammals that we are getting the amount that we need is when we are being breastfed, because mother's milk produces cannabinoids to fill the receptors in that new baby or new animal. And it actually, the saliva can send a message to the mother to give certain cannabinoids to that child or animal to
Wow.
help them and that's why we say like a nursed baby is a calmer baby, has a boosted immune system, all the
Right.
things. So what we're really doing is we're filling those receptors that are deficient.
Because there's a lot of time where doctors or parents, they would, even some parents would don't want to breastfeed. They would say, well, can you just do it for maybe for a couple of weeks because the some of those vitamin nutrients,
Colostrum.
that they're gonna receive from the breast milk is there's nowhere else they can get that. So you're telling me that CBD or the cannabinoids that are found in CBD is founded into the breast milk of a
Nursing
mother. Wow, that's amazing. Now, when you come to CBD, sometimes we would hear people talk about different type of CBD. They would say CBD, and some other people would say CBG or CBM.
CBG is excellent. That's an anti-inflammatory. It has wonderful healing properties. It's a neuroprotector, and it also helps with gut health and nausea and bloating. And we actually have a collagen that has CBG in it. It's the only one in the world. And that has been such a great support for people that are looking for reduced inflammation, cognitive support, as well as gut health.
Nice. So they all those cannabinoids, if my understanding, they all work together, and they all somewhat solve a different problem in the human body. when it comes to
Yes.
specifically hormone and the
Exactly.
central
Cortisol
nervous
levels.
system.
Yes. And we call that the entourage effect. So when you combine all the cannabinoids and they work synergistically to produce the entourage effect, which covers all the areas that need to be addressed. And like I said, we do make our own cannabinoids and we can increase our production doing certain things like meditation, prayer, exercise, actually orgasm. There's a lot of things that we do as human beings or mammals that increase the production of our cannabinoids. So, you've heard the runner's high,
Right.
and you've heard of a lot of people like talking about endorphins and things like that. Those things like watching the sunrise, those things, deep breathing exercises, they really are helpful. The problem is that the gap is bigger than that.
Right.
So all we're doing is trying to bridge that gap
That's
using
awesome.
hemp products.
That's awesome. Now, let me ask you this. Now, some people, they would say every hemp product, going to have some type of THC associated with it. So how somebody will know that what they're buying is strictly CBD? And also, do you recommend that, or do you recommend to your clients, do you buy a product that solely contains CBD or CBG, or do you recommend a combination between THC and CBD combined?
So what they call that a cocktail in
Okay.
the industry, where you would combine THC with hemp products, and that can only be done through doctors in the medical field or someone that is licensed to do that. I focus strictly on the hemp side of things, which is the superfood, which is the supplement.
Right.
There is trace amounts found in the hemp plant, 0.3 or less, which is a trace amount of THC. It is impossible to become intoxicated consuming a hemp product.
So if somebody's listening and they think that they're gonna get high, that's not gonna happen.
then they're not taking CBD that they think they're taking, and that's why I go back to the Wild Wild West, because if you go into a CBD shop, a majority of the products have a synthetic version called like Delta 9,
Right.
and that will produce a some sort of intoxicating
After
feeling.
consuming, okay.
But it's very harmful for human health. In the natural form, if you're like smoking a joint or having like taking THC, like medical marijuana, that's different. But a synthetic form is actually can be quite dangerous.
Right. So that's good to know, because a lot of time some folks probably listening today and they're thinking about, okay, well, I need to use CBD because the application is so, it's very wide range of applications.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things CBD can be used for. So they want to make sure that, if they take it, they're not going to get high. Now, let me ask you this. What about somebody going to get drug tested? Let's just say, for example, if somebody is a firefighter or a cop, they're listening, and they may say, hey, I have anxiety, I have stress because my job, created a lot of stress. Now, those people, they get drug tested
Yes.
on a regular basis. If somebody going to get drug tested and they've been taking CBD, will they fail the drug test?
So what we have is full spectrum and we have broad spectrum. Full spectrum has the allowed amount, which is 0.3 or less trace amounts of THC. And because our drug testing is not what it should be to detect it, it's kind of like if you eat a poppy seed muffin, you can trip a drug test. They're now saying that even sometimes Tylenol can trip it, and it's just not an accurate test. So I always recommend for people being drug tested to only use broad spectrum. Broad spectrum hemp products extract that tiny trace amount of 0.3 or less from the product so that they would not trip any type of drug test. So I recommend broad spectrum for athletes that are being tested, for people that have employers that do random drug testing, nurses, a lot of nurses, anyone in the law enforcement, only broad spectrum CBD or the topicals, because the topicals will not trip a drug test. CBG can trip a drug test, as well as CBN. So those are the things that I always tell people to stay away from. And I'm very careful when I'm advising people, because I would never want them to lose their job over something like that.
Right.
Because it is legal in every state, a lot of HR people will say, you're fine. You can show them what you're taking, and they'll be like, you're totally fine with this, and don't worry about it. But that depends on the company you're working for, and if you want to be using a product that's the full entourage effect with that trace amount of THC.
Right.
I personally have found that the broad spectrum works, like, I can't really tell the difference. And everybody is bio-individual. Some people respond better
Right.
to one or the other, and there's both to choose from, which is great for me. I also recommend that pregnant, nursing mothers, small children, just use the broad spectrum. That just eliminates all of that stereotype of what people think kind of thing.
Right.
Even though it's not harmful, it just removes it.
Gotcha. Now, what are some of the different applications? Is this something is that a pill that you take every morning? Is it I heard that some people say they have gummies. Is it gummies that you use? What are some of the applications, and what do you usually recommend to your clients?
So we have three forms. We have topical, we have jellies, and we have tincture oils. We call them jellies because the connotation of a gummy is a drug related, like a THC gummy that has marijuana.
Right.
So our jellies, we're the only ones in the world that have a dual phase nano emulsified slow release jelly. We have not even patented it because we do not want anyone to have rights to our formulation because it's so innovative. And our jellies are bioavailable over 90%. Most of the gummies that people are consuming have a bioavailability of 3 to 10%.
Wow. That's like night and day.
They may spend less money, but they're not really getting much from it. So we have over 90% bioavailability, and it gets into the bloodstream within 15 minutes, which is unheard of because of our nano-emulsified technology. And then the dual phase, the second part, is that it will stay in the body for up to 24 hours, which is excellent. So most people will start off their day taking a jelly or a dropper of tincture oil and have another one maybe at the end of their day. And but I always tell people to allow their bodies to get into balance. If they need to take it 2, 3, maybe even 4 times in the beginning, maybe the first month,
Right.
to really give their bodies what they need to get into balance. And then you can always titrate back. And if you look at it as a superfood, it's just like anything else, right? It's like, well, I need to eat more vegetables today. I had 4 servings, and maybe you've been doing really well with your vegetables, so maybe a couple days you only have 2 servings. You know, so I say that it just to keep people in balance and to have that continuity, a minimum would be 1 serving a day of CBD, which is about 25 milligrams.
Okay.
We have it so that a jelly or a dropper of oil, if it's a 750 milligram bottle, what you do is you divide the serving amount by the amount that's the bottle or the jar of jellies by 30 servings. So that's how we get 25. So 750 milligrams divided by 30 is 25.
Gotcha.
So you're getting a 25 milligram serving. And the typical person needs that as a minimum starting place. People that have chronic issues like epilepsy, migraines, or autoimmune severe cases, neurological things like Parkinson's and other things like dementia, Alzheimer's, they might need to take 100 milligrams or more.
A higher dose.
Right. So that's kind of where we start. And then there's also that one factor of the person that has panic attacks or that person that is going into a stressful situation, maybe they're getting on a plane and all of a sudden they're just really nervous. That's where CBD is a great tool to have in your tool belt for that immediate thing that you need a little bit of help with. Have a little dropper full before getting on the plane. Take a little before having that very stressful meeting, or around the holidays when everyone's with their family and there's sometimes a lot more stress. Maybe you need to take another serving during that week than you would normally.
So if you know somebody that have scared of planes and they know they're going on a trip, so right before they're getting into the TSA line, just pop a few drops, and before you get to a plane, you'll be relaxed. Now, let me ask you this. We all heard about the story that happened to one of the female NBA player in Russia, where she was traveling with some CBD and cannabis tinctures. And she was arrested in Russia because they claimed it was drugs. With your formulas, will they be able to get through TSA with them, or is there like a regulation that regulates that? How does that work?
Well, every country is different. So Canada is very strict. They sell it. It's legal in Canada, but they won't allow anyone to bring it there. They want you to purchase what is grown and produced in Canada.
Just if you go into Canada, don't take it with you.
Yes. And Europe is not, does not have, like, we just went to England and it was totally fine. Like I said, each country is different. If you're going to Russia, you want to make sure you're checking to see if that's something, because cannabis has this umbrella of the drug and there's a supplement. A lot of countries, they just don't even want to deal with it because of the misinformation and the labeling. It could be anything. So they rather avoid it completely and not allow it.
So what about the U.S.? Let's just see.
U.S. is legal in every state. You can take it anywhere, any place. It's totally fine. That's
good. That's good to know. So thank you so much for this information. Because I'm sure a lot of folks that heard about CBD, they know how it works. And you've done a fantastic job educating us. Some of the benefits. Now, as a business owner, because this show is about business owners, and you obviously are a business owner. As a business owner, what would you say some of the biggest challenges that you have faced? You say you've been in business for a little bit over a year and a half now, correct?
I've been in the industry for 9 years. But
9 years, okay.
With Green Compass for almost 2.5 years.
Okay. So what would you say some of the biggest challenges you have faced in the industry, and how did you work your way to overcome those challenges?
I think probably the hardest challenge is that you can't want it more than that person does, right? You have a solution that you want to provide, and you want to serve others. You want to add value to others. You can offer it, but you can't, you have to manage those expectations as well. So many times we take it personally when either someone says no or someone doesn't give it a fair chance, and we think of it as like, well, we failed in some way. But the reality is, no, that's not true. We cannot be attached to the outcome. And what I tell everyone is that money is an exchange of value. So if you're adding value everywhere you go and you're helping people, whether it's with hemp-based wellness or some sort of support for their overall wellness, it comes back to you. So if you're in this industry, the people that I think that struggle the most is the people that are actually constantly selling, and constantly like, I want them to buy this, instead of I want to add value to their life, and how can I do that? And if you just have that mindset and that thought process, I think you'll overcome a lot of disappointment, and you will feel like you're doing your best. I wake up every day and I say, someone needs this, someone needs me. How can I help someone today? We do not know what people are praying for when they go to bed at night. It could be a good night's sleep, right? It could be help to manage the overwhelmed stress of maybe it's a young mom with postpartum or whatever. It could be somebody that's looking for another income stream because we're dealing with a lot of inflation and hard times. So maybe it's the business opportunity aspect and they want to become a distributor with me. It doesn't, whatever it is, if I'm adding value, then I'm doing my job and I can't be attached to the outcome that's out of my hands.
So managing expectations, that's one of the biggest, headwinds that you have seen in the industry.
Yes.
Anything else you can think of?
I always tell the people in my organization, I said, be ready. I always say, be ready for everything and expect nothing.
Wow.
And
I like that.
The most important thing is to be consistent and show up for your business every single day. It could be one follow-up, it could be one conversation, but a lot of people, they kind of separate. When you're an entrepreneur, it becomes a part of who you are if you're passionate about it. And if you try to compartmentalize it, it becomes very salesy and inauthentic. So if you can be consistent and bring it to wherever you go. I go to beach yoga, that's my office. I go to paddleboard yoga, that's my office. Wherever I am, it's a part of me. And it makes it so much more authentic. If you're being consistent, it's kind of like the popcorn in the microwave. If you stop that microwave and then you start it up again, you think it should just continue, but it really never does.
Right.
So if you're an entrepreneur, you need to be consistent every day, showing up for your business, even in some small way, instead of stop, go, which really makes it more difficult to grow.
It's kind of like the old saying, you hear a lot of successful business entrepreneurs saying that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Exactly.
And if you like it, you're probably going to be more consistent than not. So, but on a different light, when you're looking at challenges, or when you're looking at strength, comes in challenges as well, headwinds, because from headwinds, a challenge can arise in a way of strength. So what would you say some of the strength that have arose from those challenges that you have faced? How did you navigate them to become stronger and a better business owner?
I would say the biggest challenge for this particular industry that I'm in is the misinformation, because it's only been 6 years. So that's my biggest challenge, the education piece and getting that information. And also the second challenge I find in this particular industry is that people really don't give it a fair chance, taking it daily for over a period of maybe 4 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks, like before they see that balance coming into play.
Right.
And part of that challenge is the fact that we've been trained to take a pill and have immediate gratification.
Yeah,
right?
that's what people, when we're growing up, we go to doctors and, if it doesn't come from the doctor or the pharmacy, we don't take it.
And I have to manage those expectations. Say, okay, you haven't slept in 30 years. You took CBD one night. Like, can you give this a few weeks? And we're used to a medical professional that will give us maybe 2 different prescriptions and say, hey, try this for a month and come back and see me and we'll talk and see if it's helping you or not. For some reason, we have no problem putting that into our bodies, even if it may not work for a month. And the doctor's even saying, we'll just see if it works. Like, they're just throwing things at you sometimes. And here we have something that's been proven to show that it puts the body into homeostasis, but yet giving it those 4 weeks, that is a challenge that I run into, where people really need to give this a fair chance and be consistent every day.
We live in a culture where we want everything yesterday. It's like a microwave culture. We want everything. We want it now. We want it now.
Right.
We go to buy food at the restaurant. We don't want to do the drive-through, but sometimes it takes time. So everything in life takes time to work out. Now, The point I was trying to make was, with challenges comes strength. What would you say as a business owner? What are some of the strengths that you have because of the challenges you have faced? You have become
Right.
stronger. What would you say of some of the strengths that you have developed as a business owner?
I would say that my experience coming from being that person that was bedridden for 2 years with three incurable diseases, like those types of challenges that I've overcome, and learning what my body needs, and then being able to support someone else that's going through those challenges in an empathetic way. I think that experience that I bring, and then being in the industry for 9 years, I think that that gives me an advantage because of the experience that I bring into my work, if you will, or
Right.
my passion. And I'm able to help other people that want to get into this space with me as an entrepreneur. I'm able to mentor and coach them and help them overcome those challenges as they learn and they grow. So I think that's what you're asking, right? Did I
Right.
answer the question?
Right. Now, if somebody is listening here that they think, wow, this is fantastic, there's a lot of different things, a lot of different applications that I can use CBD for. What advice would you give somebody listening, say, hey, I want to purchase CBD. What should they look for? Where they can buy it? Let's just say, if somebody is not in Florida, they can get a hold of you, or, if you want to buy somebody else, somebody different. What advice would you give them as a roadmap, to look for, where to buy it, and to make sure that they have a product that is effective?
Well, first and foremost, I have an organization that covers the whole country that works with me.
Okay.
And there are other advocates for Green Compass. Right now, we have approximately 8,000 in our country. They're not all with me personally, but Green Compass is the gold standard. We're checking all the boxes. We also are one of the only, our founders are on sitting at the round table for the next farm bill that's due to come out any day.
Right.
And so if someone is looking to purchase CBD and maybe Green Compass is not what they want, I think going back to those 5 safety standards, certified organic, non-GMO, has to have that seal, has to be the flower with the extraction process, CO2,
Right.
has to have a certificate of analysis, third-party lab testing from a legitimate lab,
Right.
okay, and has to have the traceability that you want so that you're getting what it says on the bottle. So those are the things that I think are non-negotiable. And if you can find a company that checks all of those boxes and you're comfortable with that, then go ahead and try it.
And this would be on the label, or would this be in the certificate of analysis?
So if it's not easy to find, so we have a QR code on every single product and the box. And it's super easy to find. If it's not easy to find, then it probably means that they don't want you to find it. So
I see.
I tell people to ask the manufacturers, send them an email. Can I see your certificate of analysis? If they don't get back to you, or, those are to me,
That's your red
indications
flags.
that's the 90% I'm speaking about. That's not what you think.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely with an industry that is the wild, wild west, as you put it at the beginning of this interview, people really want to make sure that they do their homework. And knowing these things, those 5 things you mentioned, I think it's going to help them significantly find the right product. Now, can you give us an example, a real life example of one of your clients that is currently using CBD? You don't need to be detailed as far as the name, but can you give us a story as far as one of your clients and why they started using it and how long did it take for them to see results?
Oh my goodness. I have so many examples. I mean, I've had people, like, for example, my husband, he saw results in 1 day.
Wow. What was it taking you for?
My mother, it took her 2 months. but she wasn't consistent.
What was your
Take it every
husband
day.
taking the CBD for?
He was a semi-pro hockey player, and he has severe arthritis in his lower back.
So pain.
And yes, and he also has inflammation in his ankles and knees from many broken bones,
Right.
injuries.
Inflammation too. Okay.
Yes. And then the third thing is he had issues with his liver and kidney, so he's not able to take any type of acetaminophen or ibuprofen, which would be like the Tylenol and the Motrin and pharmaceuticals.
Right.
So he was kind of left to just deal with the pain, and that is very difficult for. He's a big guy too,
Right.
like 250
Hockey guy.
pounds.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
figured.
so they say the athletes, he hits 60 and everything comes back to haunt you. And when he started using the CBD, he saw an improvement right away. He uses the topical. We have a CBG topical pain relief. He uses that on his ankles,
Right.
knees, low back. He uses the CBD. He prefers tincture oil over the jellies. He uses it morning and night. And he uses the CBG collagen, which has really helped him with the inflammation. He's able to manage his pain. He's sleeping better. He is not drinking beer anymore, which was really not helpful. And he is not moody. He's not depressed.
Wow.
And he's just like really great. And I feel like I have my husband back.
Wow.
After 35 years, and he really is doing well. That to me is worth it all. And, that was something he saw the difference within a day, whereas my mother, it took her a couple months. But she's also 80 years old. So
Right.
she started using it when she was 78, and now she's 80. And her results are different for different people. That's what's so amazing, because it is bio-individual. Another success story, again, ADD for focus. I've seen kids start with a half a jelly before school, do amazingly on exams and focus and testing, come home, have a half a jelly before homework, be able to do their homework without having a meltdown, without arguing, and the whole household being disrupted. Like some of the simple tasks that we deal with and we put up with, it's such a simple solution, and it really can help. I call them tools in our tool belt to help manage the busy, hectic, crazy lives that we all lead.
Right. Wow. Thank you for that. That was a great response. Now, for our listeners that are listening to us today and thinking about starting their own CBD business, because obviously you said you have affiliation that if somebody is interested. Now, the other part of that is what strategies did you use to build your brand? If somebody's thinking about starting their own brand, what strategies did you use to build your own brand to make sure that you become successful today?
I think number one is that whenever you are social selling, it's all about the relationships. And again, adding value everywhere you go and listening. And that is what I've learned to do. If somebody wants to become an entrepreneur or get into this business as an advocate with me, with Green Compass, in the organic CBD functional mushroom space, you really need to be listening. And it's all around us. I have a very simple formula, and this is how I help others when they join me. And I say, just listen. And when you hear, wow, I wish I could sleep better. Wow, I'm so overwhelmed. Wow, I'm stressed. My child is doing really poorly on these medications. The side effects are brutal. Whatever it is that you hear. And my formula is this. What are you doing for that? Ask people.
Right.
What are they doing for that? Listen to their answer. And trust me, they will tell you what they're doing. And sometimes it will take a while because they're doing a lot of things, taking a lot of things. And then my second question is that working for you?
Right.
And then listen. I would say that 98% of the people are like, it is not working. And then my third question is, have you ever considered CBD?
Right.
And that's really the recipe to this business. It's having that relationship, asking the questions, listening, and that's how I built my business.
Wow.
And as far as on a broader scale, networking groups like Professional Referral Exchange, which
Right. I was going to
Parry
ask you
and I
about that.
connected, that's been a tremendous way for me to really reach my cold market, if you will. I tell people I can reach 1,000, but with you we can reach 10,000. You know, so the more people that know about what we're doing, and they're going to do the same thing.
Right.
Their mother is complaining about sleep. Oh, my friend Dawn in my networking group, she's always talking about how CBD can help with sleep.
Right.
I'm gonna connect you, right? So networking is a great way to grow your business, and the people that have joined me in my organization, I would say they get 100% of my support.
Wow.
If somebody wants to run, I run with them. If somebody wants to make it a hobby, then that's great. I'm here if you need me.
Wow.
And that's how I do my business. It's really, really rewarding, and it's literally changing people's lives.
Right. So I was going to ask you about PRE. Obviously, you know, as we have met, you know, Professional Referral Exchange. And how long you been in the group? And I mean, you mentioned the value of being a part of a referral group like PRE.
Yes.
What was the genesis? How did you get started with them? And what are some of the values you have found that have helped you grow your business? And somebody's listening, how they can help something like that to help them grow their business?
I was actually approached. Someone saw my card at a restaurant and approached me, the director of PRE, and invited me to attend one of the breakfasts. And I will say that when I went there, it really is a person-to-person thing. You have to really feel connected in some way to whatever group that you're a part of.
Right.
And I like to say it had the right vibe for me. Like, it was the right vibe. I connected with the people. I liked the venue where we meet, the founder, the director, the other members, and I felt like it was a good fit. And as far as what to look for in a networking group, number one, it has to be a good fit. Number two, it has to support your business. So I like the fact that we have one category represented. I know a lot of networking
category
groups,
specific.
Specific, yes.
Okay.
And I know a lot of networking groups allow multiple. I personally don't appreciate that as much. I find that I do love healthy competition type of thing, but I feel as though it's just more comfortable when
Right.
you know that you are that one category expert in the group,
Right.
especially if you're investing monetarily in being a member.
Right.
Right? And then that's the other thing. The third thing is you do want to have a return on your investment, no matter what networking group you're joining. So if you're investing, this is my third year, you had asked me, so I've been in the group 3 years, going on 4. What you want to look for is that at the end of the year that you've actually grown your business and you've had a great return on your investment. And then it's, you know, numbers don't lie. You want to make sure that you're spending your time wisely. I always say you want to work smarter, not harder. And that's a very important aspect. And then the fourth thing is that you get what you put in. So if you show up every week, then you're going to have that continuity, just like that bag of microwave popcorn. It's not stopping and intermittent. And if you can't show up and you have somebody subbing for you,
Right.
you're adding value to the group, and you want to build relationships with every member in the group by doing one-on-ones, by getting to know what they're looking for, their referrals. And the fifth thing I think is the most important thing is give more than you receive.
Wow.
If you are always giving more, you're always putting out the referrals, you know what? Then it's going to come back to you.
Right.
Like I said,
Like planting your
money is an
seeds.
exchange of value. Yes, it comes back to money as an exchange of value. And the people that I see that are never giving out the referrals, they're usually the first people to complain that they're not getting any.
Wow.
And I think that you have to give more, and then you'll receive it too.
It's like the
It's
old
two-way
principle,
street.
right? It's like the old principle: give, you shall receive. Or if you want to receive, start by giving. Be the changes you
Yeah.
want to see in the world.
Yeah.
So obviously, you've been an entrepreneur for quite some times now, and you've seen the peaks and the low of entrepreneurship, the CBD business. Would you say you would do anything differently, if any, throughout your entire journey as being an entrepreneur and also a wellness advocate? Mm-hmm. Anything you would do differently now?
Yeah,
if you could go back?
If I probably would have appreciated to start this earlier in life.
Entrepreneurship or wellness advocate?
Being an entrepreneur. I look at I have 4 adult children, and I wish that they could see the value in this, because you have the time freedom,
right?
You have the unlimited income potential, you have the personal development, and you have that passion of what you get to do every day, adding value to people's lives. And it doesn't matter what it is that you choose to do as an entrepreneur. I love what I get to do, and I wish I could have started a lot sooner. I started when I was 50. So it would have been great if I started when I was 30, So I guess my advice is, don't overthink it. Jump in. Even if you have a full-time job, so what? You can do something like this, can fit into anyone's schedule, because it could be 5 minutes a day, one conversation a day, right? And it can actually grow into a substantial business. I call it the back pocket business. If it's one conversation a day, you have it in your back pocket, and guess what? Something happens in your life, there's a change. You're like, you know what? My child is going to go to college next year. I'm going to take out that business and I'm going to ramp it up.
Right.
But you already have it going. It's like easy. Just ramp it up.
Right.
It's just a great thing to have in your back pocket.
I agree. It's kind of like what Jim Rohn said, when you have a job, you're making a living, but when you have a business, you're making a fortune. So having that back pocket, that back pocket option that you mentioned is fantastic. Well, folks, you have it. This is it. Don, thank you so much. You've been fantastic, sharing your passion, your vision, and how you bring value with organic CBD products. And I'm sure our listeners have taken a ton of value in our conversation today. Before we wrap up, if somebody hearing you today say, hey, sounds interesting, I want to learn more about, what Don is doing, where can people find you, and how the best way to get in touch with you?
The easiest way, and I think most people are comfortable with, is I'm on Instagram at Purely Dawn, one word, Purely Dawn.
Okay.
And you can DM me. You could also email me at purelydawn@gmail.com. And my website just happens to be purelydawn.greencompassglobal.com as well. So those are the ways you can contact me. And I will say, because I am really making a priority the relationship, I typically like to have a short conversation with people before they get started, so that I can provide the best start with the best pricing and the biggest savings and all that good stuff. So I would love to add value to your life, and I hope you give me a chance.
Absolutely. Don, thank you so much. Remember, building a business isn't just about profit. It's about purpose, passion, and people. My name is Schubert, and you've been listening to the Smart Business Owner Podcast. See you in the next episode. Bye, everybody.